Hey, this is Donna Price with Visionary Womenpreneurs Radio, and I am thrilled that you have decided to join me today. The purpose of this show is to interview women that are making a difference in the world, that have created a vision of impact, a vision where they impact their world and the world. We bring together at Visionary Womenpreneurs a network of women to connect, collaborate, and celebrate. They envision with purpose. They lead by connecting with other women and collaborating with them. They strategize to have an impact on the world, and they take consistent action to make it happen, celebrating their successes along the way and taking on challenges and learning from them. We focus on areas such as ending poverty, empowering women and girls, youth education, earth stewardship, womenpreneurship, health, and well-being. We talk to women that are impacting the world so that they can inspire you on how you can make a difference in the world. Join me in welcoming our guests and let me know if you have questions that we can answer. Thank you for joining Visionary Womenpreneurs Radio today. I am thrilled that you are here. Today I'm thrilled to have Bree Noble joining us to talk about women of substance. Bree quit her corporate job as a director of finance at a U.S. top 15 opera company to pursue music herself. She had a successful 7-year run as a touring singer-songwriter. In 2007, during her time as a touring musician, she founded an online radio station, now a podcast, called Women of Substance Radio, to promote quality female artists in all genres. In 2015, Bree launched a second podcast, The Female Entrepreneur Musician, to help female musicians confidently promote their music and find their 1,000 true fans. Drawing on her extensive experience as a musician and entrepreneur, Bree offers an online academy and mentoring community exclusively for female musicians called the Female Musician Academy, and her Rock Your Next Release course. I want to welcome Bree to Visionary Womenpreneurs Radio. Bree, I am so excited to have you here today on Visionary Womenpreneurs Radio. Thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, of course. I'm super excited.
I think you are the first woman musician that I've had on the show.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, awesome.
So it's exciting. And I know that you work with women musicians, and music is such a powerful way of connecting people and has been part of changing the world forever, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I'm very much into music that, you know, has a message, has a purpose behind it. And it's not just, you know, kind of fluffy music. So, you know, we'll talk about that a little bit with my platform, but that's like a big thing for me. I don't want just fluffy music that doesn't have any substance to it.
Definitely. So I want to start off just talking a little bit about how you got started working with female musicians, entrepreneurs, and your platform, Women of Substance. So, like, where did the idea come from? How did you get it started?
Well, I am a musician myself, as you said, and I was, you know, and I'm a huge music lover, right? And so with the Women of Substance, the way it kind of came about is it was very much like a hobby and an interest to me. I loved making mixtapes when I was growing up. You know, I grew up in the 80s, so I'm going to give myself away age-wise, but very into like making mixtapes of just different genres. And like, I love the idea of just putting songs together that were just really good. They didn't have to be a particular genre. And everybody loved, whenever we went on road trips, people were like, play Bree's mixtapes, you know? So, and I just loved doing it. And fast forward to, so I was a musician and I graduated from college and got, I also had a business degree. So I started working for an opera company, and I actually started Women of Substance as a way to listen to the music that I liked at work. So it was back in the day where there was no iPods or anything, MP3 players or anything. This is like early 2000s. And I just wanted to have a way to kind of beam a playlist of all the music that I liked so I could listen to it at work. And I'm like, the internet can make this possible. So I discovered Live 365 radio way back then, and you could set up a radio station for free. So I just set up, I was like, I love music by female artists. That was kind of the Lilith Fair era. And I was really into all of that music. And I just thought, well, I'm going to set up a radio station that plays all the music that I like. And I was into like looking into independent artists and finding artists that lots of people didn't know about. And so I created this station, and it just came to me that I should call it Women of Substance. Like I didn't think hard about it. It's just like, it's important to me that music has substance, whether it's the message behind it, the lyrics, or it's just a really high quality performance. To me, that was substance. And so, like I said, I wasn't interested in like party music or fluffy pop, like just sugar pop kind of music. And so I created that, and I just made it to listen to at work. And a few years later, they started charging to have a platform on Live 365, and I was still working. And so I was like, I can't really afford to do this just to listen to music at work. But I had noticed that people were getting on the bandwagon, like they were subscribing to it and listening to it. And so I didn't end up paying to keep it going at that point, but they just left it on the platform. Like whatever was there just stayed there. I just couldn't really listen to it. No one could listen to it. So it just kind of sat there for a few years. And once when I was working at the opera, and I had executed an exit for myself because I was having kids, but I still worked there part-time. And I was touring as a musician, and I was meeting all these other amazing female artists. And I just really got motivated to start doing this again, because I saw so many great female artists and wondered why I didn't hear any of them on the radio or Sirius XM or, any place that I could find them. And so I thought, I want to build this platform to really lift them up. And so I was like, oh yeah, I have this station. I wonder if I could revive it. And so I went in there, and it turns out it was going to cost me, I can't remember, $100 a month or something to run it. And so I figured out a way to be able to break even by accepting submissions from independent artists and charging them a small amount for me to listen to their music and decide whether it was a good fit. And I managed to be able to break even so I could start this station on the side kind of as a hobby. And then over the years, it just grew and grew and grew. But that's kind of the origin story of it.
Well, that's pretty cool. And so I used to, like, we'll reveal age and stuff. I used to go to the Michigan Women's Music Festival, which was a lot of women of substance playing there as well. So I've never been to Lilith Fair, but it's such an important thing to give women a voice. And so it seems like you do that in a couple ways. One, you have a platform where women can submit their music to be played, and the rest of us can benefit from that and getting their voice out there. But you also work with women entrepreneurs, musicians, to succeed as musicians, which is so important as well. So talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, that was totally, again, like an organic growth out of what I was doing with Women of Substance. I was smart enough to build up an email list of all of these artists that I was working with, so I could communicate with them and say, hey, your song's on the radio, tell your people to tune in, here's the link. And, and I would give them opportunities. I was doing showcases and things. So I had all these artists that I was already in communication with, and they were coming to me with lots of questions. Like, I just put out my album, how can I promote it? Or, they would ask me like questions about copyright or licensing or things like that. And I'm like, these people have amazing music, but they really don't have any knowledge about how to promote themselves. And a lot of them would come to me and tell me stories about being scammed by people in the industry. And it was really painful, you know? And so I'm like, I just want to help these people. And at that time, you know, it was about the time that my youngest daughter was going to kindergarten, and I had transitioned the Women of Substance radio over to a podcast because I could see that that was like the new medium, and that online radio really wasn't growing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I think I could help them. So I started out with a podcast to help musicians, and all female, right? I had like an entire list of 3,000 female indie artists. So I'm like, why don't I just focus on females? So the female entrepreneur musician podcast was started in 2015. And pretty soon after that, I opened an academy to really, you know, work with people more on a direct level with their marketing. And a lot of them, they just didn't realize that they needed to think like an entrepreneur. And they just thought, oh, I'm just putting my music out there. I'm not a business person. I'm like, but you are in business. Like, you're trying to make money from this, at least to be able to break even and make your next album, even if you're a hobby artist. So that was kind of how it all started. And it's just grown in the last I'm literally about to hit my 5-year anniversary of the Academy, June 1st. And so it's
congratulations.
amazing what's happened over the past 5 years.
That's great. I think that it's true of so many business owners. They love their craft, whatever it is, whether it's music or massage or being an electrician. They love what they do, and they go into business for themselves, and all of a sudden they realize it's not just doing my thing. I have to do all these other things, you know. And at least in my experience working with small business owners, you know, they all had that, like, you know, I don't like marketing, I don't like speaking, I don't like, you know, telling people about myself or my business. And that's been the biggest challenge for so many entrepreneurs, to figure out that being the CEO and putting that CEO hat of their business on and doing it. So it's great that you have that focus for musicians, because it's definitely, there's a lot of similarities with every other business as far as marketing, but it's also a specific niche that has some specifics to it in how you market music.
I find there's two big differences between, you know, because I also coach entrepreneurs and like course creators and membership site creators. And the big differences with musicians, there's really two of them. One of them is on the musician's end, in that they're, you know, this is their art, right? This is like a piece of them that they're putting out there. So it's even more stressful when they're promoting themselves or promoting their music. And I try to help them separate that. Like, you're promoting your song, this creation, this piece of art that you put out into the world. It's not promoting you necessarily, but they feel so tied to it and they feel so raw about it that it's hard to put themselves out there, especially if, you know, if there's like internet trolls and they get occasional negative comments and stuff. It's like someone stabbed them in the heart. So, you know, that's one of the things that I really try to help them with. And the other thing that's different is that musicians do not solve a problem. I mean, they do, in that they entertain people, but, you know, in business, since you work with business people, you know that we're always helping them understand what problem they're solving for their customer, and, you know, how they can explain how they solve their problem and all that stuff. But musicians, they don't really solve a problem. People don't know that they are out there looking for, you know, this particular music until they find it. So it's a little bit of a different approach, of more kind of going after the, you know, if you like this artist, then you'll probably like my music kind of thing, or hooking them in with a personal story that relates to the music. And if you watch things like The Voice or American Idol, they're always putting the personal stories in there, because that's really what draws us in, and it makes us look, you know, even differently at the way that they perform, because you feel like you know the person. So those are just kind of the big differences that I see between working with musicians and entrepreneurs, but a lot of the rest is the same.
Yep. I saw on you've got a couple of websites because you have the female musician, femme-musician. I don't know how you'd pronounce that.
I say femme musician, but
femme
yeah.
musician. Okay, yeah. And you've got the special report on there for female musicians on 15 income streams, which looks great. So I would encourage people to pick that up. And then the Women of Substance Radio, you have musicians have the ability to submit music to be on your platform. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of you're helping them promote their music on your platform, and you have an opportunity for them to learn how to be successful as an entrepreneur as well.
Yes, absolutely. And it's important to have both, because I can give them the platform, but if they don't really know how to amplify their appearance on Women of Substance, it can come and go and not really make a big blip on the radar. You know, we've got a certain set of, thousands of listeners, but if you don't really take advantage of that placement or any placement that you have as an artist, you need to really learn how to get the word out to your people, get them sharing it, just even let them know that you're out there doing stuff, versus just relying only on the platform to do all the promotion for you. If you kind of work together in a synergy, then it can really exponentially magnify your, for example, this podcast, right? I wouldn't just not promote it and just assume you're going to do all the promotion. It's my job to also promote this and show people that this is a valuable piece of content and come check it out. And it's the same thing with musicians.
I appreciate that. But I agree. I don't think everybody gets that when you're a guest, you have that responsibility to promote it and share it as well and say, hey, look, it's a great opportunity, really, in that guest position on your platform or on any podcast to kind of celebrate and raise the flag and say, hey, look over here, I was a guest. And
yeah, totally. And we, we do play music on the Women of Substance podcast, but I grew up listening to Casey Kasem's Top 40, and I always love learning a little bit about the artist. And so we do say something about each artist. We don't just say here's this song by this artist. We tell a little something about them, where they're from, a little of their background, just a little 20-second intro. And I feel like that's really important, because it just helps me really hone in on when I listen to them, oh, they're from South Dakota. I'm curious what their song sounds like, or they won this award, or they've shared the stage with this person.
Definitely. I know for my daughters, I have teenage daughters, they can listen to a song one time and they know all the words and they're totally connected. I never could do that ever. Even when I was a teenager, I couldn't do that. But so to have a little bit more information about somebody helps me in connecting to that musician for sure.
Definitely.
So Women of Substance, what does that mean? What do you mean by Women of Substance? If people were thinking about, should I be listening to this?
Yeah, what I mean is that it is high quality, and it is substance is just it actually has value, whether it is the lyrical content, amazing lyrics that will stick with you. It is just really great performance, amazing instrumental players or awesome vocals, or it is the message of the song. We have a few themed kind of series that we do throughout the year, and the biggest, most popular one we do is called A Music with a Conscience, and it's all songs that are about particular social justice issues, everything from violence and racism and abuse, and it's a pretty heavy series, but it's amazing. And so that was kind of what I founded it on originally, but I expanded it into just any really excellent piece of content, because to me, there is definitely somewhere in my life for like a really perfect pop song, like just a really well done pop song with an amazing vocal that it can be aspirational to me. What I don't like is like these like auto-tuned, every song sounds the same kind of songs that I hear a lot of times on, on my daughter's playlist. And so those are not the kinds of songs that we like to play. I need to hear something that really makes it stand out.
Definitely. And how old are your daughters? How old's your daughter? Are you?
I have a 17-year-old daughter and 11-year-old daughter.
Okay, so I have a 16 and an 18-year-old. So, and they have very different playlists. Very
Right.
different playlists. So I know that, like, I think of music and the type of music that you're talking about for women of substance as having the power to really move people and impact people. And so I wonder what your experience with like that is, and is that part of the kind of vision of women of substance, that you move people?
Absolutely. It has always been the vision. And that's why I think, other than like holiday music, I think Music with a Conscience has been our longest running series, because it was just everyone just loved it. It was so impactful, and the songs are just, or like we have a Mother's Day series, and the songs are just so touching and moving. But when I feel like we need to do something like that, like when the Me Too movement was really, really hot and going on and in the news, I did a Me Too series of about 2 weeks, and they were just, wow. I mean, some seriously powerful songs, people really just pouring their heart out about things that happened to them, that was just, it's painful to listen to, but it's also important to know that these are experiences people are having.
Definitely. And I think, historically there's been songs that become associated with a whole movement, and kind of like the anthem of that movement, that as soon as you start hearing that song, it brings you kind of back to that
Oh yeah. I mean, like, for example, we did have, we haven't done this for a while, but we did have a September 11th like tribute show every year on September 11th for probably the first 10 years. And there's some amazing songs that just bring you right back. There's one that I played that actually, it was by an independent artist, but it actually did really get popular during the time of September 11th. It was written about the one of the people that was on the flight that crashed, and like a cell phone call to his wife and stuff. And I certainly think, there are certain songs that really take me back to September 11th or to the Gulf War or whatever it was that was going on, that just really encapsulate that time.
Definitely. I think, well, we can all think of, you hear a song that takes you back to a moment in your own life, and it, like, as soon as you hear it, you're like back there.
Oh yeah.
And, so then movement songs can certainly bring you back there as well. I know that I sang in the junior high school talent show off key. And whenever I hear that song on the radio to this day, it takes me right back to that terrible performance of mine, my only musical solo performance ever, for that reason. But so it can bring you back to bad places.
Right.
So what are the best ways for people to get in touch with you or to listen to Women of Substance Radio?
Yeah. So Women of Substance Radio is a podcast that comes out 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you can go to wosradio.com, and there's lots of different ways to listen. You can even you can just say like, Alexa, play Women of Substance radio. I hope it doesn't activate it because there is an Alexa in this room. But you can do that and she will find it on whatever service is. I know my, the podcast manager for Women of Substance, she has a Google Home and it works for her too. So you can do that. You can go to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts, and it will be there. The only place you can't find it is Spotify, because they've decided that we're too competitive to their playlists. So they decided they won't have music podcasts for whatever reason. But, and if you're an artist and you've got radio ready music that you want to submit, just go to wosradio.com, and there right across the top is a little button you can click on to find out how to do that.
Very cool. So wosradio.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then if women want your information on how to succeed as a female musician, where do they go for that information?
You can go to femmusician.com, which is F as in female, E as an entrepreneur, musician.com. And like she said, there's that 15 sources of income on the front screen there. It's specifically for this time period, as we are not able to do live gigs at this moment. So there's a lot of really great strategies of things that you can do online as a musician. And then also come join our free group on Facebook. We have a free group of almost 4,000 female independent artists. It's called the Female Indie Music Community on Facebook.
Okay, and we'll include those links in the show notes as well. So let's just talk about those different streams of income for just a couple minutes. Like, what are some of the really successful things that you're seeing? Because you can't do live. I've seen some incredible things online that people are doing. And I mean, so I'm so impressed with how creative people are in putting things together virtually, musically or dance or, different performance art. So what are some of your favorites?
Well, definitely, like you said, the live streaming. I mean, you can do like a tip jar kind of situation if you do it on Facebook or YouTube. But you can also have private concerts online, and a lot of people are having success with that. Doing, maybe a private concert for someone's birthday where you're just doing it directly into their home. That's kind of cool. Like beaming it right onto their TV, or people that used to hire them for gigs like senior centers and stuff where they can't come in at the moment. They're recording like a special performance for them, and like with costumes and everything. People are getting really creative and fun with that. And other things are, learning to teach online. Like a lot of musicians were in-person voice teachers, and it is possible to do it online. And it is actually going to increase your ability to offer it to more people, even once we're able to be in person again, because you've gotten used to this technology and made it available. You're not hampered by people being local in order for you to teach them. So that's one of them. There's a lot of ways that you can teach online as well, like coaching or creating like a little mini course about something that you know how to do as a musician, like recording from home. And recording from home is another big one. A lot of people, you can get a home studio now for less than $1,000. Everything that you need to create amazing sounding music from home. So a lot of people are doing like session work from home. I actually do it on occasion, and it's just fun to be able to contribute to other people's projects and get paid for it.
Yeah, definitely. I know that my nephews are musicians, and they've converted a bedroom in one of their condos into a studio and soundproofed it and everything, I guess. I don't know much about it, but so I think that many businesses are going to benefit from kind of this expansion of their perception of who their client can be or how they can do business now that they've moved online, and they see that, like you said, you can do lessons virtually, and all of a sudden your client base is global. your potential client base can come from anywhere. So it's pretty cool to
really
see
cool.
that, and so there are some positive things that come out of all of us being at home.
And I think it's pushed people to go outside of their comfort zone. People in my community who have been saying for years that they were going to do a live stream and they just never did. And now it's like, well, now this is the only thing I can do. So I'm going to get my butt in gear and do it.
Yep, definitely. And people that have been scared of the technology, I know we share the house with my mom, who's 87, and she's on Zoom more than the rest of us are combined. And she's
That's funny.
Meeting with people all over and staying really connected with people. So it's pretty cool to see. And so there's all sorts of new technology that's emerging as well, and platforms that are making new things available to people.
Yeah.
Okay, so just so we remind people, they can be in touch with Bree through Women of Substance Radio. That's wsradio.com or femmusician.com if they're interested in learning more about being successful as a female musician. Anything else that we haven't covered or that you want to talk about before we wrap up?
I mean, if you're a musician, I just think now more than ever, it's important to be part of a community, which is why I mentioned our free community, because, we are so, isolated at the moment. And I find that musicians tend to be isolated in general because they have a lot of people around them that don't understand what they're doing. Like you just said, like, you don't know what your nephews are doing. It sounds cool that they're having a studio in their condo, but you don't really understand it. And that's the case with a lot of musicians. They their families I want to be supported, but I don't understand what you're doing. I want you to be successful, and I don't want you to, just have this pipe dream or whatever. And so a lot of musicians don't have support or people around them that get what they're doing and why that's their deep passion, and they can't not do it. So I would get in some kind of a community. And, right now, since we can't be in big groups of people, online communities are a great option.
Definitely. So check the show notes here so that you can join that Facebook community and be part of that community as well. Well, Bree, I want to thank you for being with me today. It's so fun to meet you and hear about the work that you're doing, and I'm definitely going to be listening to Women of Substance Radio now.
Awesome. Thank you. And I love that, you have this platform to elevate women, and anytime that women can be elevated, I'm behind it. And it's not about we're better than men or we're, and I just I create this platform because I want to showcase women, and not that I want us to be separate. You know what I mean? And I think you understand that because you're in the same position. It's not like we don't want to be in the same world as them. We do, but sometimes we just need a special place to be showcased so people take notice. And then, I would love it if I turned on Sirius XM and half of what I heard was women. And I believe someday it's going to be that. I think it has gotten better. Yeah. I hope that what I've done over the past 13 years has helped.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate you being here and look forward to listening to Women of Substance Radio.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Visionary Womenpreneurs Radio. We can be found on all the major podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, iPodcasts, Overcast, Stitcher, and Anchor, our host. I encourage you to download the platform that you love and listen to Visionary Womenpreneurs. Hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode. And thanks for being one of our valued listeners. If you haven't had a chance to pick up the Visionary Womenpreneurs Field Guide yet, you can do so over at visionarywomenpreneurs.com. Right on our homepage, get that field guide and get started putting your vision and dream into action. And make it happen.